Hello, and welcome to the AstroEnergy Astrology Show podcast with Astrologer Shelley Overton.
Hello, and welcome to the December 27th, 2021 edition of the AstroEnergy Astrology Show with me, Shelley Overton. I'm an astrologer in Orlando, Florida, and I want to thank you for joining me. This podcast is designed to go over some of what we have this coming year. It's going to be a general reading, but there will be some specific dates I'll give you. And not going to necessarily go into any detail about individual signs, but I will tell you this: when you hear a planet in a sign, that will affect that sign. That'll affect that sun sign. If you know basic astrology, if that is a sign that's opposite your natal sun, you're going to feel it if it squares or is at 90 degrees to your sun. So say if you're a Taurus and it's in the sign of Leo, you're going to feel it. And so, just knowing basic astrology can really help know where the planets and signs are in relationship to your own sun sign. Okay, if you have any questions about that, please leave them in the comments below. I would really enjoy getting some interaction with the podcast. So, okay, this week, as we know, Omicron is ramping up, but we talked about that in past podcasts, and I said that was going to happen, and I can tell you I definitely looked into the coming year because it's such a big story, and honestly, I think most people are asking me when I see all of this ending. And I went through, I'm going to just show you my ephemeris. I've got this past year's astrology ephemeris and this coming year's. I've already written in every month, and I've got all my notes through the whole year. So I'm going to go over all that with you. And we're going to see what we get. There are definitely dates that the planets come together in such a way that it's significant. And I know that there are a couple of them that I want you to write down. So it wouldn't hurt if you got a pen and paper, got a pad, pause the video, pause the recording if you need to do that. And we'll go back into what's going on right now. And I'm going to start out with the chart today. And today we have Mars at 10 Sagittarius. We have the Sun at 6 Capricorn. I'm trying to look past all the asteroids in here. Mercury at 21 Capricorn, Venus at 25 Capricorn, Pluto at 25 Capricorn, so they are conjunct. Saturn at 11 of Aquarius. Jupiter is at 29 degrees of Aquarius because he is 3 days, I believe, away from going into Pisces. Neptune's at 20 degrees Pisces. Uranus is at 11 degrees Taurus. And let's see, I think that pretty much covers it for all the major planets. Vesta's at 22 Sag. Pallas Athena's in Pisces right now. Chiron's in Aries at 8 degrees. So anyway, and interesting, Ceres, the planet that rules harvest and agriculture and the hearth and the table, is at 29 degrees of Taurus, which is a culmination energy, a finishing off of an old story around diet. So just seeing that now, I would say New Year's resolutions towards a healthier diet from the standpoint that Ceres is going into, that CERES, like cereal, going into Gemini. And when you look at Taurus as the first house of the ego, the subject, Ceres and Taurus, going into Gemini would be the second house and the culmination of what we found out from that. And that would mean that starting the new year off with Ceres in Gemini is going to be much more conversation about diet, more trying to understand it analytically, integrate what we know from what we've learned about the food we've been eating in the coming year. And so having the stellium of planets moving into the new year with Capricorn, of course, Sun is always in Capricorn at the new year, but this year, again, we have Mercury, Venus, Sun, and Pluto. That does make a significant impact because, again, it is the structure of the body, it is health and well-being. I'm just going to adjust this a little bit. There we go. So that's what we head into this new year really embracing and trying to understand. And again, because Pluto has gone through all of the degrees of Capricorn and tried to awaken us to our own personal value, which is the quintessential Pluto essence, is about value of self to others. And that means, and it's also a generational planet. It takes enough years going through any sign, over 20, sometimes 30, depending on the cycle in the particular part of the sky around the sun. It's going to take 26. When he moves in 23, it'll be 23 years. It goes out in 2046. He will be moving into Aquarius in 2023 and moving into Pisces 2046. So it's 23 years in Aquarius, and then he goes into Pisces for, I haven't even researched the time yet, but just the looking forward to this incredible planet and the influence he has on our psyche, on our belief systems and behaviors extrapolated out of our belief system. You can guarantee, as we get closer and closer to him going into Aquarius in 2023, which is March of 23, we're going to feel it stronger and stronger. Of course, Mercury in Capricorn is literal conversation, literal communication, wanting things to be exactly as they've been spoken about. Venus also takes on that literal sense and that tangible, the body, the physicality of the body. And because Venus rules Taurus, she also rules Libra. It is about love. It is about money, tangible goods, but ideas of love and money. And it's about bringing it into the material world and rooting in what we find. And so Mercury and Venus together mean thinking about your desires, thinking about your belief systems and what you truly want and desire to create something solid in the coming year. So yeah, it's going to be a good, strong stellium of planets to do a goal setting. And, you can do your resolutions, but I would do goal setting. That's definitely something that I'm doing more of lately. I think I've always been I have a subconscious vision and conscious, but, I throw it to the back of my mind, go, okay, this is where I want to go, but I don't really write it down. Historically, I haven't written it down. Now I do a lot more. So setting those goals onto paper, into a vision board, on the computer, photograph app, whatever means you do it, can really concrete the image, concrete the dream and the goal. And then what I like to do is draw a black line around it on a vision board, which also makes it grounded and more tangible. And then look at it every day, read it every day, and envision it happening. And I can tell you, and I'm going to just digress for a little bit. When I think about affirmations, historically, I've had a really difficult time with affirmations as a Scorpio rising, because if it wasn't real, if it wasn't true, I felt it was just kind of pretend. And so I got to a point this past year where I realized that when you envision your dream as a reality, you create that, because it is like an artist painting a painting. You get to choose the colors, you get to choose the medium and the canvas and all of that. And it really, I do believe in law of attraction. I've seen it manifest in the weather. I've seen it manifest in various circumstances in day-to-day life. Trite little things like getting a parking space, but also, having family mention, every time your mother goes to a sales rec, someone else comes in. And every time there's another woman right next to her. And I'm just like, you attract that in when you notice it, when you recognize it. Those kind of things translate to a larger picture. So Capricorn represents that kind of manifestation. Yes, it happens all the time. And even when the planets aren't in Capricorn, but because the planets are in Capricorn, um, at least Sun, Mercury, Venus, Pluto, we have that added boost to be able to manifest this year and to be able to understand that tangible reality and interplay with it and create with it. And so this year we're going to have Pluto still in Capricorn, really giving us that final push on the way into Aquarius to really shore up your dreams and make them what you want them to be. Because when Pluto moves into Aquarius, that's the reality we're going to get. That's the social connectedness we're going to have. Saturn in Aquarius at 11 degrees. So the ruler of all those Capricorn planets, they answer to Saturn. Saturn is in Aquarius. Saturn answers to Uranus. Uranus is in our sign of Taurus. And Taurus answers to Venus, who's back in Capricorn. So it's kind of this big cycle of Earth energy and changeability. Definitely Pluto is a massive catalyst for change as an entity in the sky. Uranus also, that is the definition of change in astrology, is Uranus. He lives by change. And so when we get Pluto in Aquarius, it's going to be, this constant staying on your toes. Where is that event going? Where is that person coming from? Where are they going to? Are they able to stick around? Are they going to get bored and move on? All those things are elements of Aquarian energy. So heading into the new year, what is set in stone for the new year is going to be Jupiter and Saturn and Aquarius. And I'm looking back to last year's January 1st chart. We had Venus at 20 Sag. So we came into the year with a bit of the Sagittarius energy. So there was some movability, a desire to move, a desire to teach and to learn. And also that is a really good energy for housing. And then we had Sun at 10 Capricorn, Mercury at 18 Capricorn, Pluto at 24 Capricorn, and then Saturn, Jupiter at 1 and 2 Aquarius. And so we had a kind of a similar layout with the exception of Mars. Last year, Mars was in Aries. This year, he's in another fire sign, Sagittarius. And let's see, the moon on January 1st will be in Sagittarius, but the moon last year was in Leo. So we had 2 years in a row with fire moons and fire Marses, which means activity, drama, action, movement, and creativity. It's also about children. Last year, I assume you'll be seeing this in 2022, but even the majority of the year is behind us. So when I say last year, I mean 2021. 2022, we're coming in with that Sagittarius moon. Let me just double check when it goes. Oh, it's going to go in on Thursday, the 30th. And so by the 1st, it will also be going into Capricorn. Let me see. I'm just get my glasses on. Hopefully this sound is fairly clear, because I would really hate all this information to not be recorded. 6:02 p.m. on the 1st. And then we also have Mercury move into Aquarius that day. So, the Mercury-Pluto energy is going to be significant for the new year. And that means that Mercury is thought processes. Really, the end degrees of Mercury in Capricorn are going to be about letting go of old belief systems, old ideas, and old ways of communication. So Mercury moving into Aquarius, of course, is going to be technological glitches, no doubt. And of course, a lot of people go back right around the 1st of the year if they've taken extended vacations. So I'm just giving you a heads up for this week. Look forward to a shift and change of planes getting canceled. And part of that is, again, the COVID energy going through the sky. Last year, beginning of the year, ramping up to COVID for the whole year. But also, I guess that was probably true a little bit for 2020. 2021, we expected a little bit more. But again, because everything in the closer in planets, Venus and Mercury and Sun, well, the Sun is the center. The Capricorn energy is going to be about the body. So last year, Mars was in Aries, 2021. And going into Sag, it's again in fire, but Sag is a continuation of the housing market of wanting to move, relocating. It is expansion of awareness around spiritual pathways, and it is an expansion and expression of education. There is also an aspect to wanting to express yourself and not necessarily be around for the cleanup. So it is because we move along, we aren't around for the consequences a lot of times. So having Mars in Sag, we'll see people desiring to get away and not be there to own the consequences, which is the next sign, Capricorn. And so as Mars moves into Capricorn, that's when the consequences hit in this coming year. And so because Mars takes a couple of years to go through a sign, we don't get Mars in Sag every year. We don't get Mars in Capricorn every year. But Mars goes into Capricorn on the 26th of January. And so that will be more of like, okay, now there is a comeuppance. And honestly, I'm just going to kind of skip, other than the first week, which is going to have some shift into Aquarius, like I said. I apologize for my throat. It sounds really harsh. I hope I had my booster shot last week and I had 2 full days, like flu-like symptoms. And, you know, the nausea, the feeling of fever, I had flushed skin and body aches and bone joints. And so that's gone, but it turns out one of my daughter's friends just tested positive for COVID. And so I have to isolate from her, from my daughter, because she just saw her to exchange gifts with masks on. My daughter took a at-home test and tested negative last night. But, you know, it's a difficult time right now. And I will say this, I said it before, COVID is everywhere. I pretty much expect that anytime I go out of the house in a community, whether it's to Target or grocery store or whatever, that it's around me. And so I don't want to get it. And I put a mask on as much as possible, with the exception of the restaurants I eat in after I've gotten the food. I even keep my mask on now during the conversation before the food gets there. I just think that it's everywhere. And we are in a peak right now. And part of that is Neptune. And then Jupiter moving into Pisces is, both of those two together are going to give us a very big year of extended COVID issues. Okay. That being said, I do think that by the end of the year, we will have gotten a good grip on how to interact with COVID as a general rule. Of course, there will be alternate iterations of it, but I think, you know, looking at, I'm just going to show you. So this is the beginning of the year. Yellow is COVID times, okay? And then by the end of the year, a lot better. And those yellow parts are, you know, when COVID, with the exception of this one. This one is November. And part of that is Jupiter going into Aries through the center of the year and then back into Pisces at the end of this coming year, 2022. And so I would say that, you know, those times are the times that we have to look out for. This is what I'm talking about now. All of this lovely red on this page, January 17th. So there's going to be a full moon at 27 degrees of Cancer. And 27 degrees of Cancer, of course, is opposite Pluto. It rules home and family. It is the sign that wants security. And being opposite Pluto, it is also opposite the sun on this day because it's full. And it's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So, of course, it's a holiday, which honestly is probably pretty good. We're going to spend time at home. And because it's the moon full and it's opposite the sun, which is conjunct Pluto, it's significant. So the sun will be shining on Pluto vibes, on wrapping up things. It'll be an extra sense that I don't want to do that because it's just not where my heart is anymore. The sun is the ego, and it brings us to a point where we're finally able to let go of some of those ego issues of control. And the moon, of course, wants some control as well because Cancer is looking for that structure. So being in the end degrees of Cancer, Pluto, Sun, and degrees of Capricorn. It really is like the end culmination, wrapping up that story around not having the control we want, but also feeling responsible for everyone else as well. And so we're going to see a lot of that. I'm just looking towards the end of this coming year, December of 2022, to see what's going on there. So we're going to have Mercury retrograde the last days of December 2022. So it goes retrograde at 24 degrees Capricorn. And the nodes of the moon will be in Taurus. So that's also the body. It's going to be an interesting New Year's. Definitely about money next year, not this year, but we'll get to that. And then Pisces, Jupiter is at the last degrees of Pisces in December and goes back into Aries in mid-December of 2022. So it's going to be a story around new ventures in 23, which, man, I'm getting ahead of myself. So we'll rein it in and go back to January of this year. The full moon in Capricorn opposite Pluto, the very next day, Uranus goes direct, which is the 18th, and it goes direct at 10:27 a.m. Eastern and 7:27 a.m. Pacific. So this culmination of the moon, the sun, Pluto, and Uranus all making aspects to each other, full energy and degrees, and then Uranus, which won't be at an end degree. It will be, let's see, where's Uranus? At 11. It may be even 10 by then. It's going to be significant because it's about community. And having Uranus turn direct so early in the year is going to make us more aware in the new year, because of course it is about diet, about our health. Again, Uranus and Taurus, Sirius going into Gemini, that's our diet, that's our health, that's the food we eat, the types of food, the chemicals associated with the food we eat, because Uranus is about chemistry. And what is our growth cycle? Little things come through to me as I look at the chart. As long as Uranus is in Taurus, it's about clarifying what it is we do with food and growing things, the green, the money, the love relationships, and how we are a couple, what kind of love we want. We want, with Uranus and Taurus, we want a certain amount of freedom in our love relationships. We don't want to be told what to do. We can't be told what to do because Uranus just won't allow it. And so having Mars up there in Sag in conjunct to Uranus going into the year, again, Mars and Sag is about wanting to move on. He just wants to go. He wants to travel. And Uranus is saying, but you have to do it in a healthy way. Watch what you eat. Because Mars and Uranus are in conjunct, it can mean that you are more susceptible to eating bad food in places you travel to. So I would watch out for that at the beginning of the year. It isn't necessarily an ongoing, it'll last the whole year, you'll be sick all year, but definitely the beginning of the year, watch out for the kind of things you eat in your diet. Take care of your health with the shots you need if you travel long distance. And because Sagittarius rules airline travel, okay, let's look at the ephemeris. I'm probably not going to look at what's going on this week anymore. I'll just look at my ephemeris. I'll bring it on up here. Third day in a row, middle of January, January 19th, the sun goes into Aquarius. So yes, the sun is conjunct Pluto at the end degrees, and then he goes into Aquarius. And now January 19th is always inaugural day. It's the time when we really think about the country as a collective entity, and Aquarius is quintessentially community. So we are going to feel, as we do every January 19th, 20th, very connected to community and wanting to engage with people who have like consciousnesses. On the 23rd, we're going to be a little more detached. It's about analysis and psychology, belief systems, how we communicate. Sun joins up with Mercury and Aquarius at that time. Can mean that technology is going to have a difficult time. Mars goes into Capricorn on the 24th, and so we're going to see some action around taking responsibility for the body and physical workout. The 26th, wouldn't be surprised if you think about surgery or something happens that is difficult with digestion or body fluids. We've got Moon in Scorpio, trine Neptune on the 26th of January. So I put down surgery because I know somebody who is talking about having surgery, and I figured Moon in Scorpio is usually the time that that culminates. You know, if we're thinking about having surgery, whenever Mars goes into Scorpio, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Moon, those are the times we think about surgery. And Venus is direct on the same day the Moon goes into Capricorn, within an hour, within 20 minutes, actually, even at 3:46 a.m. and 4:09 a.m. respectively. So Venus moves direct in 11 degrees of Capricorn, 11 degrees of Capricorn, and the Moon goes into Capricorn. So a lot of women issues, a lot of strong pointing to the desire nature, houses, sisters, friends, security, and tangible goods. What are we doing in business? How are we going to do something that lasts? And yeah, the structure and systems of money as well. Okay, 31st of January is a new moon in Aquarius at 12 degrees. And then the next day is the Lunar New Year, Year of the Tiger. We have Sun and Moon conjunct because it is a new moon. And then Moon joins with Saturn at 6:01 a.m. on the 1st of February. And then the next day is Groundhog Day. And then the day after that, the 3rd of February, is Mercury direct. And so Mercury direct, new moon in Aquarius, and Moon conjunct Saturn, Moon conjunct Sun. So it's very strong Aquarian energy, but good, positive, awakening energy, clarity of mind. Technology can act up because it is Aquarius. Mercury goes direct in Capricorn on the 3rd, and then we have a square of the Moon in Aries, which answers to Mars, which is a square in Capricorn on the 4th. It's going to be, I would say, a week of very strong physical change and ideas shifting and trying to understand what we're doing throughout the new year, where we want to go, what our value is to other people, and if we're in the right place. Again, I think it's another year of looking to where we are going to be living. So around the 8th of February, Mars trines Uranus. I'm just going to simplify a bit of this because it makes it easier later and to get through the whole thing. So we're just going to give you an overview in this so you can kind of get an idea of what the year is going to develop like. Mars trine Uranus in Taurus. Mars is in Capricorn on the 8th of February, so rules and restrictions are imposed around tech. I don't think Mark Zuckerberg is going to be too happy in February. And then we have a lot going on Valentine's Day. Mercury, Pluto are conjunct. Moon is opposite Mercury. Mercury is in the first and goes into Aquarius. And so that's weather, independence, chaos. Technology for sure is going to be hair trigger. Whether or not it affects you, I guess, depends on your natal chart. And I've got serious angelic energy coming in because my nose will not let me be. February 16th, full moon at 27 Leo. And I'm noticing a pattern next year. A lot of moons at late degrees. Full moon in January at 27 Cancer. Full moon in February at 27 Leo. And I know that there are a few others. So the new moons tend to be a little bit more early degrees or mid. But early in the year, the full moons are right there around 27, which tells me that there are some endings coming at the beginning of the year. We've got the 16th of February has a full moon in Leo, 27, like I said. Mars is going to join up with Venus in Capricorn. And so that means that there's going to be a meeting of the minds between the genders at that time. And it's also desire, taking action, and manifestation. So it's going to be a pretty good day for getting things done and taking ownership of things you want to get done. And the moon moves into Virgo on that day. But because there is a moon in conjunct to Pluto, and the moon is in Leo before he changes signs to Virgo later in the day on the 16th, could mean that there's some rash or bravado communication. And it's kind of like the conservative establishment is at odds with the intellects. And then Sun enters Pisces on the 18th of February. So there's an inconjunct between the moon in Libra and Neptune in Pisces. And it's not ideal for love. I'm just going to throw that out there. There's a positive day on the 24th of February with the moon in Sagittarius and sextiles to Mercury, sextile to Neptune, sextile to Saturn, Venus sextiling Neptune. But there are also some squares, and they're usually, Mercury's in Aquarius, and let's see, Saturn's in Aquarius, and they're going to be in opposition and square to the fixed signs of Taurus, Uranus and Taurus on the 24th. So what does that mean? It means that there's going to be some friction, some challenge between the desire to move forward and wanting to know where you're leaping to, because Venus in Capricorn needs to look before she leaps. But Neptune in Pisces is very much supportive of her and her dreams. It's just a little bit of that fire energy with the moon and Sag that's making it impatient. So 24th of February, a little impatient, but overall you can really formulate your dreams and make them manifest then. February 25th is also positive. The Sun and Mars are in sextile. They're in positive aspect. Moon in Capricorn sextiles the Sun in Pisces, and the Sun and Mars are in positive aspect, and you can really make it happen on that day. And then the 27th of February, we've got a conjunction between the moon and Venus and Mars in positive aspect, all in Capricorn, before the moon enters Aquarius. Yeah, the 27th is going to be moon in Capricorn, Neptune in Pisces, and then the conjunction with Venus, Mars, and Capricorn for the moon. And that's very strong, shifting that energy again. Capricorn, the beginning of the year, it's really about the structures and making them work for you. So I think at this point, I tried to simplify it. I just don't think I am able to. So I'm going to go over the highlights, and that's just going to be this week. That's the way I got to do it. March 3rd, we have a lot of positive energy. We've got Mars conjunct Pluto in Capricorn, moon, Pisces joining up with Neptune. Obviously, Mars, Pluto, strong push to do something, maybe frustration to make things manifest. And then, but it's going to be really supported by the moon joining up with Neptune. So it's a deep feeling emo time, but it's also, okay, I really emotionally know what I need to do and have the power to do it. Then Venus joins up with Capricorn, Pluto. Moon is sextile to Pluto. It's sextile to Venus. It's sextile to Mars in Capricorn. And then the moon moves into Aries. So answers to Mars, and Mars is in Capricorn. So really pink and asterisks. It's a day for moving forward and getting it done and making your dreams happen. March 3rd. And then we've got independence, altruism, and community come on March 6th with Venus and Mars joined up in Aquarius. It's putting that same kind of energy that we had at the end degrees of Capricorn in the 2nd of March, really forcing us into a new sense of community and to looking to the, with clear eyes, what the true nature of interactions in the collective really is. And then Mercury enters Pisces on the 9th of March. So March is, of course, our dreamy month with Pisces sun. And we have to look to health issues because whenever we go into Pisces, that is the COVID area. And then we have the moon in Virgo on the 16th of March, which is going to be good. It's opposite Venus. Venus is in Pisces then, Neptune in Pisces. And so whenever we have planets in Venus, Planets in Virgo. Virgo rules health. Of course, it's opposite the liquid movement through the bloodstream of the health. Pisces can give us more opportunity for ill health, where Virgo is trying to solve the health issue. Then on the 18th of March, of course, coming up on the spring equinox, we've got a full moon in Virgo on the 20 at 27 degrees on the 18th. So full moon in Virgo is going to be, again, a culmination of a story around healthcare workers, health devices, doctors and teachers, and education. So because it's a full moon in late degrees, it's opposite Neptune. That could well mean that there is some educational story around COVID, and also that sentimentality that comes into that late degree Pisces energy, which would be Neptune or Sun. Then we've got, because the Sun will be at late degrees Pisces, then we have on Saturday, the 19th of March, of course, coming up in the equinox. The last day before that is Moon in Neptune. She is having all sorts of aspects with Pisces planets, Aquarius planets, Aries planets. And so look to that being kind of a chaotic energy. It's very analytical and mental. And then it's going to be deeply emotional and sentimental. And that's the nature of Aquarius, Pisces joining together. This whole podcast is going to get so butchered from editing because there's so much I have to cut out. Okay, Moon in Scorpio in conjunct to the Sun in Aries on Sunday when the spring equinox hits, and then Mercury joins up with Jupiter. This is a death aspect. I'm going to just say, because of the Aries energy and the Mars energy, it is a time of sentimentality and aggression. So that always for me translates into being a very significant day to watch out for male aggression or even just physical aggression. That tends to be assigned to men, but doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be. We still have a lot of Capricorn energy. So, it's just aggressive nature. It's being angry and wanting to take it out on something or someone in a situation. And then let's see, the 22nd of March, kind of stressy. We've got some energy with Mars and Aquarius squaring Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius. And so it's going to be more of a pioneer spirit and really challenge. The male ego is going to be very challenging because it's in a fire sign, and look for that. Well, let's see if there's anything else that sticks out. Mercury moves into Aries on the 27th of March. So again, it will be Aries season, and that's going to be more of a drive for more radical ideas and attitudes because there's an Aquarian moon on that day. Let me do it myself energy with the moon, and then Venus is in Aquarius, joining up with Saturn on the 28th. So women want to stand in their personal power. April 1st, a year of awareness of gender differences is what I had for that day, and that came into me. That was something that I channeled in. The new moon is at 11 degrees of Aries on April 1st. So again, brand new moon starting in at 10 degrees. And that's going to be an inconjunct energy to Uranus within a couple days after that. Actually, the moon joins with Uranus, but the inconjunct of Mercury to that Taurus moon, or Taurus Uranus, excuse me. Venus in Pisces on the 5th of April is going to be, again, feeling like we need to nurture our sentimental side, wanting vintage to surround us, old memories, older people, going back to friends that we used to know, people coming back in, lovers coming back in. We're only up to April and it's been 40 minutes. Actually, it's been 50 minutes. Mercury enters Taurus in April. Mercury in Taurus is going to be the ideas around money. We're going to be more conservative with our money come April. That's our Taurus season. And April 12th, I've got highlighted because that day we have Jupiter join with Neptune in Pisces. And it's going to be really powerful for COVID. And what it does is it's going to make us collectively really have to face those inner demons about what COVID means in our lives and why we are in the situation we're in. So emotionally, it's going to trigger us. It's going to bring out more COVID probably. And Jupiter is expansion. Neptune rules bodily fluids. And again, illness can be there. And those are, the Pisces degrees are always going to be associated with this disease, as are Capricorn energies. Okay. Mars moves into Pisces on the 14th of April. So I think April was the month that I really highlighted it. Neptune is going to be a really strong player come that time. And as we go into the end, let's see, I've got a kind of a spike with COVID throughout the month of April. And then, yeah, it kind of continues on throughout the summer months. Part of that is because of that Jupiter and Neptune conjunct. And then it goes on, and then we have the moon in Virgo on the 14th of April. And then Mars moves in, like I said, to Pisces, April 14th. So with Mars in Pisces for a good part of April into May, we've got Mars going into Aries the 25th of May. That's going to be a strong spike, I think, in more aggressive disease. Okay, I think I'm going to go through the end of April because I'm getting a little drained with this. It's going to be more moody and weepy and sad on the 27th of April. Moon enters Aries later in the afternoon on the day, but we have a lot of conjunctions of the moon to Venus, Mercury and Taurus sextiling Jupiter, which is a good aspect for money and business and foreign business, actually, things you have to send out of the country. Moon joins up with Neptune at 2:02 a.m. early in the morning, and then it joins up with Jupiter at 7:07 a.m. And there's a sextile between the moon and Mercury. Even though it's sensitive and internal, it's going to be actually pretty good for processing our emotions. And then Venus joins up with Neptune at 3:12 p.m., even though the moon enters Aries that day. Moon entering Aries on that day, which is the 27th of April, is going to be really good because we're going to feel a little bit more personal power. The final aspect I'm going to end with on this podcast is just for this week because it's actually kind of draining right now. The 29th and 30th of April is Pluto goes retrograde at 2:38 a.m. Eastern. The moon squares Pluto at 5:38 p.m. and Mercury enters Gemini at 6:23 p.m. and the moon enters Taurus at 8:19 p.m. So we have a complete shift of energy between the moon, Mercury, Pluto, and how they interact. And so it's going to be pretty rocking and rolling that day. Pluto retrograde, that's always, especially in Capricorn, is going to be volcanic activity, earthquakes, shift of consciousness. And again, because we've been working on ourselves, working on our own internal dialogue and what we're really responsible for, we are going to go back. Of course, it's going to be probably 3 more years, 22, 23, and 24 is this back and forth between the last degrees of between the last degrees of Pluto in Capricorn and the early degrees of Aquarius. So it really is, I've got 1 foot in the future, 1 foot in the past, 1 foot in new and independent, 1 foot in old and traditional. And that's going to be the next 3 years. So whenever for the next 3 years, Pluto goes retrograde or direct, that is a significant day for like a jarring change in our ideology, in our mindset. And it really is about trying to shift that final time when Pluto makes it into Aquarius and doesn't go back into Capricorn. So for the next 3 years, even though we're going to be more on the Aquarian side in 23 and 24, there is still that time of Capricorn. And so this year, I think this coming year is really going to be the last year of fully Capricorn sensibilities where we're really conservative. I mean, I've said this before, Capricorn can be homogenous. It can want us all to think alike. And yet we have that polarity that goes on with the Sagittarian energy that we've been feeling. And also that sense of ungroundedness Aquarius can bring as Saturn and Jupiter went into Aquarius. But Capricorn wants that traditional, um, reliable sensibility. As Pluto goes retrograde, we're continually going back to the old ways. That's what we're challenging, the old ways. So we go forward with Pluto, we get closer to Aquarius. We are starting to see that things are opening up in a different way, and that, the internet is here to stay. Online work is here to stay and will probably continue to grow. Bitcoin is here to stay. It is going to be very erratic by nature of Aquarius, but it will find its footing on some level. And there may be even a hybrid between material world fiat currency and technological currency. So we'll just watch for that as it develops over time. But having this day at the end of April, April 29th and 30th, because the 30th is a new moon in Taurus, again in Earth energy, and it's a solar eclipse. As the planets are interacting, Venus is in Pisces, joined up with Jupiter in Pisces. Again, Venus, Jupiter, it is an expansion of the energy around COVID, and Jupiter going into Aries not long after that by direct motion. We're going to see a lot. I mean, I wish I could say it's different, but COVID's going to be still a significant story this coming year. But I do think that as we move into an Aquarian age in 23, and we move out of the body sign with Pluto and Capricorn, we're going to be more about how we look at our body as an autonomous vehicle for health, that we are not going to be part of the collective. We are the part of the collective in we share this earth and we have community. And then at some point, it's going to shift and change towards we have control over where our health stands. And as Uranus gets to the last degrees of Taurus, that's going to be increasingly clear. And so when we get to that time, such as Pluto goes into Aquarius and Uranus goes into Gemini, it's going to be a collective aha moment, in my opinion, where we are going to wake up from this, oh, we're all part of this storyline where we're all sick at the same time. I think that that's kind of an old storyline where, disease does transmit, but there also has to be a receptive entity. So I guess I have somewhat addressed my view on COVID, but really to clarify, it's somewhere kind of in the murky middle between two ideologies. I believe that we have a responsibility to our community and our fellow man to stay healthy. And we have the means to combat this through vaccines. Am I a big fan of vaccines? No. When I got the shot for the booster, for the first time, I noticed they asked if I'd had any allergic reaction to these different things that are in it, including thimerosal, which, I definitely have an objection to. So that being said, I mean, I did get the booster shot, and it makes me concerned for putting chemicals in my body that I'm adamantly against. But the collective deserves to get past this. And the way we get past it is by the majority being vaccinated. And that's because that's where our times are right now. When we develop in science and the medical community to understand a spiritual belief system and how we can manifest health without having to look at vulnerability and victimhood to viruses, then maybe my attitude will change on the collective taking vaccines. But, I was raised in a vaccine culture, but I definitely, as an adult, have questioned it. And along with my kids, my kids are all vaccinated, are both vaccinated to everything. And well, the majority of things. There are a couple that I declined to have them get, but right now that is the state of the art for medicine. And I think that we need to look at what we put in our bodies and how we interact with disease. And so, as time progresses, and especially in an Aquarian age, we are going to have more awakening and the ability to drive our individual health and not, I mean, if you think about it, even insurance is saying, hey, you're going to get sick, you better have protection. And that's a mindset of illness, not a mindset of health. So I think that we're going to start challenging these ideologies more and more as time goes on. And I will continue throughout the year on my next podcast. But I think for now, what happens when I get into a lot of astrology, this is going to kind of get a little complex, but Aquarius is very strong in my chart, as is Mercury. And so energy comes in and I channel energy when I talk astrology, and it can interact with my body in making me jittery or my nervous system kind of heightened. And that can wear me out. It burns out my adrenals a little bit when I kind of just monologue about astrology. So, especially if I'm talking a lot of information and a lot of detail. So, I'm going to end this for now, and then we'll get back to it next week and continue on. And hopefully, by the end of all this, you'll have a pretty good idea of what's coming up for the year. And thank you for sticking with me throughout last year and honestly, the 11 years I've been doing the podcast. Please do share it. And I appreciate your patience with me and my technology as I continue to try and improve it. I'm going to try and get one of those little fuzzy mics so that my sound is better. Anyway, take care and have a good week. Come back here next week for the continuation of 2022. Take care. And then Mercury moves direct in Pisces. And, oh no, excuse me, Mercury moves direct in Capricorn on the 3rd of Aquarius. The 3rd, oh my God, my brain's. Okay, Sun and Mars are conjunct in Sun and Moon. Oh, what the hell?
Hi, this is Shelley. Thank you for joining us this week. To contact me for a private reading, go to angeliczodiac.com under the Readings tab. Background music was provided by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.com. To purchase my ebook, Learn Astrology, you can find it at angeliczodiac.com, including discounts. Be sure to check back next week and subscribe through iTunes at AstroEnergy Astrology Show.